we got to talk about Lamar Jackson. This is a possible 2 to 3 week hamstring injury. Speaking of Shedeur Sanders, he probably should have gone to the Ravens instead of avoiding them, because he might be playing right now in a really good offense with Derrick Henry. But this is to me the game changing, depending on how long this lasts and how long it lingers.
Yeah.
This is in you could say it's only 2 weeks. It's only 2 weeks. The Ravens are 1-3.
Yeah.
And while on one side of my mouth I'm saying that the Browns could get back to 5-5, I think that's a different situation than saying that the Ravens can survive as a top
because we're
AFC threat without Lamar Jackson.
We're talking about teams like, there's a difference between talking about, can a team like find its way into the in the hunt graphic in December, versus like with the Ravens, we're talking about, can this is that game going to be played in Baltimore or Buffalo? Is that game going to be played in Baltimore or Kansas City? Like that's the sort of thing that we're talking about with the Ravens. And those things, as they, once again last year proved, those things can determine who winds up in the Super Bowl. Last year, the Bills won a 2-point game over the Ravens at home, and then went to Kansas City and lost at the very end of that game to the Chiefs. Now, I'm not saying if the AFC Championship game was played in Buffalo or that divisional round game was played in Baltimore, the result would have been different, but it might have been, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, like, we're talking about like teams that are that have been at the very top of the conference, that are playing in high leverage games, where those games are generally won on the margins and have been traditionally very, very close. And so they play the Texans this week. Have the Texans found their mojo? I don't know, but maybe the Texans have found their mojo, and the Texans are in the same sort of spot, same sort of desperate spot Baltimore's in, right? And then you get the Rams after that. Right. And the Rams are going to be coming off of, I think, 10 days rest, right? Because they play on Thursday. So, like, the next 2 weeks for the Ravens, you're right. Like, this is a critical point for the Ravens.
I mean,
Cooper, and I think that's as talented a team, by the way, as any in football. Like, I think that their roster is dynamite, despite what it's looked like early on. And they've got injury issues now that they're working through. But I mean, they're sort of at that no excuses point where they got to buck up, because you lose enough of these games, and now all of a sudden, maybe even if you get in, you're the 6 or 7 seed, and you got to win 3 games in the road to make it to the Super Bowl.
Cooper Rush against, let's just take a look at this. Okay, the Rams are the 4th highest QB pressure rate team in the NFL, and the Texans are 14th, but you have to take into account that this team has not been playing with a lead for an awful long portion of this season, right? And when they did get a lead, they tortured the daylights out of poor Cam Ward. I mean, that guy barely made it out of that game. And so, I don't know. I mean, the Ravens at 1-5, what does that look like? Then
you're starting to ask big picture questions, which, I don't think we need to discuss that yet, but
we're not there. But
we're not there. But like, I think I think that this is a critical 2 games for the Ravens. And if they're going into those 2 games with Cooper Rush again, against, I think, a team that's really talented in the Texans, that still has a really high ceiling, right? Like, I'm not saying they're there, but I'm not overreacting to the Titans game. I would have told you this when they were 0-3. I still think they have a high ceiling. And then after that, you're playing a Rams team that I think could be in the Super Bowl. It's just, there's a little bit of an incline in front of the Ravens now, whether or not they can scale it. You get to the other side of it then, and I'm just looking at it now. Then you've got your bye, and then you got the Bears and Dolphins coming out of your bye. If you're 3-3, or even 2-4, like that the opportunity in front of you is much different than if you're 1-5.